$300 million. That number alone should stop you dead. But it is not just the number. It is where the money went, who handled it, and when this all came to light. Because this did not surface in some quiet February window with nothing else happening. This broke during the World Cup, during the actual tournament, while Argentina were still playing. While Claudio Tapia, the president of the Argentine Football Association, was sitting in stadiums watching his team bulldoze through the knockout rounds. And in the same country, at the same moment, federal agents were already pulling on threads that reportedly run through Miami banks, Florida shell companies, and payments to a man described as a lucky charm, whose son was collecting $20,000 wire transfers with suspicious regularity. The FBI is investigating Argentina. Let that land. And before you start connecting this to the phantom fouls against Egypt, to the disallowed goal that had half the internet convinced the tournament was already decided, we need to slow down and be precise, because this story is extraordinary enough on its own without turning it into something it is not. So let us walk through what is actually being alleged, what the evidence reportedly shows, and why the timing has made this the most surreal subplot any World Cup has ever produced. Here is what we know. According to Argentine newspaper La Nación, which broke the story, the FBI is leading a preliminary investigation alongside the U.S. Department of Justice into the AFA and its president, Claudio Tapia. The focus is possible fraud and money laundering inside the United States. Investigators are reportedly tracing how the AFA moved more than $300 million through American banks and companies. Not some offshore island nobody has ever heard of. Citibank, Bank of America, J.P. Morgan, the most recognizable financial institutions on Earth. At the center of the web sits a South Florida company called Tour Prodent LLC, registered in Aventura, which reportedly handled the collection of the Federation's commercial contracts abroad. The core question investigators are asking is whether those transactions concealed the true nature and purpose of the money. That is the allegation being examined. Examined, not proven. That distinction matters enormously, and we will come back to it. But here is where the story becomes genuinely impossible to look away from. Because this probe was not sitting in some quiet corner while the football played out on a different channel. It was running live, parallel, simultaneous. Journalist Nicholas Pizzi reported that during Argentina's round of 32 win over Cape Verde, FBI agents and Justice Department prosecutors were questioning an Argentine sports businessman named Guillermo Tofoni. Tapia himself was in Miami for that Cape Verde match, watching his national team advance. And in the window around the Egypt game, the one that generated so much fury and so many accusations from around the world, investigators reportedly held a 3-hour video conference with Tofoni out of Miami. Think about what that picture looks like. The president of the Federation is in the United States, walking through stadiums, celebrating victories, steering Argentina toward the quarterfinals. And in the same country, in the same week, federal agents are collecting witness testimony about that federation's finances. On the pitch, glory. Off it, subpoenas. Same week, same country, same team. Now let us talk about the specific details, because this is where it stops being an abstract financial story and starts feeling like something from a film. Among the alleged spending that investigators have flagged, $340,000 paid to the family of a so-called spiritual guide. A former player whom top AFA officials reportedly believed brought the national team good luck, who traveled with the squad to major tournaments, including this World Cup. The money reportedly went to his son in 17 separate transfers of exactly $20,000 each. $20,000, 17 times, to a lucky charm. The same reporting flags $468,000 sent to a company linked to AFA treasurer Pablo Tobagino. $40,000 to his business partner. $2.3 million routed to a U.S. registered company tied to a person described as having no clear financial profile. Stack those numbers against a reported $42 million moved through Florida shell companies and at least $16.5 million in luxury spending, and investigators have reportedly traced around $90 million in potentially irregular uses of funds so far. And Pizzi himself has said the figure of $260 million is provisional. It will grow. And remember the context those numbers exist inside. Argentina is a country where ordinary citizens live under some of the most restrictive currency controls on Earth. Average Argentines struggle to get dollars out of an ATM. Meanwhile, there are allegedly $20,000 wire transfers going to a shaman's son in America. That contrast is not just a financial detail. It is the thing that makes this story feel like it belongs in a different era. If you love this kind of behind-the-scenes football breakdown that never makes the highlights reel, hit subscribe, because there is a great deal more of this story still to unfold, and you will want to be here when it does. There is a piece of history sitting under all of this that you cannot ignore. The last time U.S. law enforcement went hunting through football's finances with this kind of aggression was 2015. The Department of Justice and the FBI blew open the biggest corruption scandal the sport had ever seen, indicting a long list of officials, many from South American federations, on charges of racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering. And the through line running across all of it was football money flowing through American banks. That case ended careers. It ended the Sepp Blatter era. It reshaped FIFA's governance permanently. So when those same agencies begin pulling the financial thread of another South American football body in 2026, during a World Cup on American soil, the echo is not subtle. American investigators have done this before, and the last time it went all the way to the top of the sport. Now here is where coverage is going to go wrong, and I want to be careful about it. You have to keep two completely separate stories separate, or you end up believing something that is not true. The FBI investigation is about money, bank transactions, shell companies, financial disclosure. It is not an investigation into match fixing, referee decisions, or whether the games themselves were manipulated. Nobody at the FBI is examining Messi's penalties in Qatar, or Egypt's disallowed goal, or the VAR calls that had commentators losing their composure. Those are football controversies. This probe is a financial one. They share a jersey, and that is genuinely all. Merging them into one grand narrative is precisely the trap, and nothing that has been reported supports doing so. And the most important caveat of all, no charges have been filed. Not in the United States, not in Argentina. This is a preliminary investigation. Prosecutors are still determining whether there is enough to build a case at all. An investigation is not a conviction. It is not an indictment. It is not proof of guilt. The AFA's U.S. representative, Tomás Regalado, put it directly. Investigative measures alone do not determine responsibility or guilt. He is right about that. Tapia also faces a separate legal matter back in Argentina related to alleged mismanagement of tax and Social Security funds, but that case is entirely unrelated to the Miami probe, and Argentine courts cleared him to travel. Do not let the pile of stories trick you into thinking they are all one story. They are not. But here is why this still matters enormously, even with every one of those caveats firmly in place. Because credibility damage does not wait for a verdict. The defending World Cup champions are chasing the trophy, while the president of their federation is the named subject of an FBI money laundering inquiry in the very country hosting the tournament. That, as far as anyone can tell, has basically never happened before in this sport. It feeds the exact same corrosive feeling that has followed Argentina all month. That everything around this team comes with a question mark attached, on the pitch and now off it. When your federation is simultaneously accused of receiving favorable refereeing and being investigated for moving hundreds of millions through Florida banks, the claim that you are being treated like everyone else becomes a very hard sell. Fair or not, proven or not. Legal experts quoted in the reporting have made clear that a case spanning two countries, multiple banks, and this many entities can take years to resolve. This cloud is not lifting before the final whistle of this tournament. The football keeps going, the paperwork keeps piling up. Both tracks run simultaneously. glory on one side, and active federal investigation on the other, until one of them reaches its conclusion long after the trophy is lifted or lost. And somewhere in Miami, agents are still pulling on the thread. So what do you do with all of that? This is not a red card controversy or a VAR debate. This is $300 million, a Florida shell company, a Lucky Charm on the payroll, and the FBI knocking on the door of the world's most successful international side right in the middle of its title defense. One of the strangest subplots any World Cup in history has ever produced, and it is not close. So tell me honestly in the comments, is this a genuine scandal that is only going to grow? Or does it fizzle out with no charges and no consequences? Drop your take below, hit subscribe, and stay close. Because with the FBI, FIFA, and a quarterfinal all running at the same time, this story has nowhere to go but further.